Okay. Um, Welcome, everyone. Thank you for waiting. Um, just making sure everything is going here. Let me know if my audio is coming through. We've had some audio issues in the past, so just making sure that everything is coming through properly. Um, but yeah, thank you everybody that's been waiting. Um, Bear with me today. I seem to have broken my left thumb from a bike accident, so I'm having to use my right hand for a lot more of the um, buttons. Good thing I'm a right-hander, so it makes things a little bit easier. But yeah, so today, if you saw in the description and the title, we're going to be making the X-wing Starfighter today from Star Wars, and it should be pretty fun. If you tuned in last week, we made the Narcissus escape ship from Aliens, so we're kind of on a sci-fi spaceship streak right now. But this X-wing was from request, uh, by request. So we're going ahead and do it. I didn't have anything else in mind, so we're just going to go ahead and go for it. I've already collected some reference images online, and I'm actually going to remove that. And basically just um, trying to find some images that would give me just enough information. Probably don't even really need all of these. Probably don't really need those either. These are probably the main ones that I'll need. But just try to find some orthographic images, um, some stuff that I can use to let's see, oops, anchor that. There we go. Just yeah, some orthographic images to get the sketching going, and then we're just going to jump right into sub D kind of low poly modeling and get this thing going. I will also say it's going to be a simpler version. We won't be making like all of the details on this. I mean, you can see this is very, very detailed ship, and it's just a lot to do in an hour session. So we're going to try and capture the essence of the X-wing. That's sort of what we're going for today. But without further ado, I think I'm just going to, let's see, probably, well, first things first, let's maybe try and get a rough scale. So grab human, place them in our scene, in our scale gizmo here, 1-to-1 scale, and we're just going to take our image here and scale them so it's about the size I'd say that's probably roughly the size, maybe a little larger. It might not be totally accurate, but it'll at least be proportioned correctly. So the thing is like if we're a little off on scale, and scale really matters for this later on for some reason, maybe you're using it in your pipeline, you can always, as long as your proportions are good, you can just scale it to the proper scale later in whatever program of you have of choice. So yeah, and then we're gonna go ahead and turn on our mirror as well, and then I'm just gonna have a nice bright color so I can see my lines. Maybe something a little more obvious, yeah. And then I'm actually going to pick the stroke tool instead. And we're going to go to point mode. Because with point mode, you can like click each point that you want. And it's just a little better when you're just trying to sketch out geometric things. Also, If you have any questions during the live, feel free to ask them on the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat um, periodically through the session, and I'll happy to answer any of your questions about Gravity Sketch, workflows, things like that. So, yeah, let's just keep going here. So I'm just going to block in this shape here. Kind of get it, the main body locked in. There's that. And then got the wings. Let's see here. Redo that. Here we are. Start from up here actually. And so we're just blocking in the shapes, just the rough forms. Okay. And then we do have some other stuff, some other things here. So that's pretty much the profile. We can also just quickly block in the shape of our engines here, or thrusters. And same for these. Just gonna get that. There we go. And one thing I should do, and this is something that I always do, sometimes forget to do it in the beginning, but just organize your layers right in the beginning so you can have everything organized. So we're just going to make a layer here. We're just going to call it, pull it up here. I'm just going to call it ref for reference, and just going to drag the image in there. I'm going to turn, actually, yeah, I'm actually going to call this ref there we go. Place it in there, and then this is just going to be called sketch. And if we turn off ref, we'll have our sketch left here. There we go. And then maybe one more, call it human. Place them in there. That way we can just turn that off and on. And now we're good. So we're going to go back to sketch here and then keep working. So we're going to block out the cockpit. And we'll later extrude that to the proper shape. Let's see. I'm just going to make these one long cylinder because it'll be pretty straightforward on getting all the other details later. So we're just going to do it that way. That. Anything else? Let's see. This is kind of a major detail as well, I think. Okay. So that's pretty much the ship. And then all we need to do is, I'm going to take this over here. That's like the proper scale. So in case we somehow lose this one, we can always get back that other one. So what we can do here is sort of line up the side view. And I'm just going to see if we can, if our orthographic viewport can help us out a little bit. So we're just going to line that up. Cool. Actually, I'm going to move that down just a little bit because I want it aligned with the tip here. And so now we can start sketching out the side profile and get a real idea of what we're working with dimensionally here. And so yeah, just kind of sketching it out. Let's see. Actually, delete that point because we don't need that. We got that. That goes all the way back, I believe. Got the profile of our cockpit here. And I'm not really too concerned with the, whether these strokes are connected or not. Like this is a separate stroke because it's just for reference, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just to give a rough idea of what we're working with. And we'll be able to figure everything out. Just giving yourself information is what you're doing. So we're going to line this up. Go into edit mode for that. And move that up. And then we actually have these at an angle. But I think probably what we'll do, it'll be interesting because the wings are vertically symmetrical on each side. So I'm wondering, it might be cool to model the wings like this. And then sort of, I'll have to think about that as far as like the mirroring and how that will best work. But so we've got all of our information here. Let's just go ahead and turn off our reference layer and just look at our sketch here. So this is our outline of our ship. Their X-wing here. And let's just make sure we're getting all the other bits of information we need before we start going into some sub D. So I'm going to look at the front end here, focus on that for a minute. And we have what looks like a crease here in the top. And then it just seems to kind of slope back. So we're gonna go here and go here, right? And then on the bottom, looks like it's a similar deal. So we've got, okay. So maybe we move these out a little bit. And we're gonna take this stroke and move it here. Move that down actually. Yeah, there we go. And so what we have is that sort of angle. Okay, so that's making sense, which is good. And then we've got the back side. Let's just see what's going on here. So we got kind of like this faceted shape here, and I think this tapers a little bit, or maybe it's just tapering because of these sides. So we're just going to block that out. Let's draw that out. That seems to make sense. Good. And I'm thinking this probably maybe goes down a little bit. And then this, like, kind of tapers. So it's like straight and then it like tapers down. And then we'll probably just continue that profile on the other edges. So that's, all right, we need to see what's going on at the top here. So I'm not sure that's quite right. Yeah, so maybe, okay. So I think it's more like this. No. Because these need to be parallel. These two lines need to be parallel, but somehow that needs to transition from here. So I'm just wondering how that works. Oh, we have an interesting angle there. Okay. Interesting. So maybe, okay, so I'm looking at this, just trying to figure this out. So we've got that angle's back, and then we've got this angle here. That seems to make sense. And I think we need to lower this just a little bit. I think that's about what it's supposed to be. Okay. Just gonna adjust these. All right. So we've got the basic main body blocked out. Just need to make sure I've got the right shape roughly for the cockpit now. So let's kind of bring these to the center so that we can get a little bit more of an accurate look at what's going on. And I'm also going to turn off our human. So it seems pretty straightforward. So I think we've got that shape, and then this is all planar. This is all planar. Planarly flat. Interesting. It's got this line, and this changes here. I think that's right. But I think it needs to come out so that it tapers with the rest of the ship. Yeah, something like that. And then this gets moved back. We have this line here. Okay. That seems to make sense. So I think what we can start doing is just blocking that out, and then we'll address the wings when we get there. So I think this is probably enough information for us to just get going on some sub D. Just gonna anchor that. Okay. Let me just check your comments before I keep moving here. Let's see. Do you have plans of implementing texturing into Gravity Sketch? We've certainly talked about it internally, doing texturing and things like that. You can actually add textures onto things in Gravity Sketch, but you're at the mercy of the geometry that you're working with. So I'll just show you a quick example, and we're going into sub D anyway, so I can just show you this. But let me just quickly create a new layer and call it surface. And that's going to be our sub D surface layer. So if we go to our surface tool here, change it to sub D, and we're going to do like a kind of a neutral color here. And we just kind of drag out a surface. Any image in your screen can be used as a texture. So get a edit mode, grab this, you know, like you're changing the color or material, you'll see these other materials here. Or these other, you'll see the images in your scene show up as textures as well. For some reason, it's not mapping. Oh, okay. When I let go, there it does it. So now it's showing. So you can see the mapping is pretty crazy. And there's not really a way to control that right now in Gravity Sketch. It's just using some weird projection method. But what would be cool is a way to control the projection method in Gravity Sketch. You know, like if you haven't ever had any experience doing UVs in other programs, you would see, like, you know, there's an option for a box projection or cylindrical projection, and it's just a way to sort of just change the way that the texture is projected onto your surface. So if we could have something like that in Gravity Sketch, I think that would probably help give people a little more control as to how they texture their images. So so you can see it's just kind of crazy, but yeah. So some textures kind of work out well. If they're just like pattern textures, they work out okay. And you also notice that if you try and apply that texture to like a primitive, it's more properly, it kind of looks a little better. It's kind of like a box projection somewhat. And so it just kind of depends on what you're projecting onto. But anyway, that's kind of a long-winded answer. But basically, you can do textures in Gravity Sketch using images. But I think we want to have more methods of control over that in the future. And somebody asked, are you a developer or have contacts with developers? Thanks for broadcasting. Yeah, thank you for watching. So I'm the design community manager here at Gravity Sketch, and I basically connect with all of you out there using the tool. And so it's just basically I answer your questions. You know, if you have anything that you're wondering about and you're asking on YouTube or on our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter, I try to answer your questions or direct you to places to go to find out what you're looking for. And then I also do like a lot of training content like this as well. And yeah, so that's what I do. But the product team is what really builds all of this and makes Gravity Sketch exist. And they're sometimes they're tuning into these live sketches, listening in. We're certainly listening to what all of you are saying out there as well, as far as your feedback on Gravity Sketch and what you'd like to have. So whenever you reach out to us or tell us things that you'd like to have or tools you'd like to have, we're definitely listening. So if you have ideas, please don't be silent, because we're definitely listening for sure. And it's kind of my job in particular to pay attention to those bits of feedback from all of you in the community, and I pass those along to the product team in case it's getting missed. So so definitely don't be silent on your thoughts, for sure. Okay, so let's continue with this. So I think what I'm going to do is go back to my stroke tool really quickly, go back to my green material, and quickly fill out these cockpit details. And this one here. Let's see. Here we go. All right, let's jump into sub D. So we're going to go to our surface menu. I'm going to turn off sketch and move these into sketch because I accidentally sketched those on the wrong layer. So we're going to hide the sketch just a little bit. We're going to move these other images to reference so we're not losing those. Actually, I just realized something. We should probably make another layer called ortho, because I want to hide this, but I still want to see these. So I'm going to keep these in reference, and then this image will go into ortho. We'll turn that off. And go back to surface, and I'm just going to pick my surface tool. We're already in sub D, and let's try point mode. Maybe that'll be easier. Kind of get like a gray color here, and I'm going to just start blocking out the shape here. Probably it might actually be easier to start with a cube. Sometimes I start with a cube actually when working in sub D, because it's already a closed shape, and it just makes it a lot easier to start with your forms. So I think that's what we're going to do here. Start with this cube. And just add another edge loop here. Just like that. And yeah, get started here. So I'm going to take these all the way back. And right about here is when it'll start changing. Delete that face. Bring it all the way back here. Raise that up. Extrude that out. And so it's almost like, I've said this before, but sub D, it's very much like a 3D puzzle. So you're just like taking all the pieces, extruding them, connecting them. You're just putting together your puzzle. I'm going to subdivide here, connect it there. That. Connect along the bottom. And as I mentioned in the beginning, you know, this is going to be a simplified version. So we're not looking for, you know, movie accurate here. That would take a very long time. We're trying to capture, you know, the essence. Back into edit mode. Extrude there. Extrude again here. And I'm going to do collapse points. because we're going to have a triangle here. Connect those together. Grab this edge, connect it. We've almost got a closed shape here. At the back end. So we're just going to take this shape, shrink it in a little bit, extrude it back. And then we'll have another, oops, go back to our surface here. Have a surface there. Just so we can close that up, add to it later. Let's just turn off our sketch real quick and get a look at what we're doing here. Cool. So the rough shape is coming together. Let's just keep moving. Turn on our reference sketch here just a little bit. And now we're just going to quickly block in the cockpit here. What I want to do though is give this opening just a little bit of a lip. And then keep working here. Subdivide there. And then extrude back. So I think probably a better way to do these corners is to just subdivide. I'm just thinking here. Yeah, just do that. Yeah, it's probably a better way to do those corners. It just connects everything better, more logically. So we're just going to take these, extrude it down, subdivide, extrude that, then connect the edges up on this end. The same thing here. Let's see, subdivide. Okay, and then same deal here. Finish up those corners. Subdivide and extrude. Okay, now let's let's turn on or off our sketch so we can see what's going on here with the cockpit. I think that needs to be, okay, we kind of forgot to do the back there, so we're going to do the back real quickly. I think if we just do an edge, let's first complete that part. And then let's do an edge select, just bring it in. Okay, so it's kind of wonky, but we can try and realign some of the things going on here. So I'm just gonna take that and just visually, we're just going to straighten some of these things out. Kind of making it a little more accurate or close to the result, the original design. There we go. It gets a little complicated when you have just like all these loops, edges flying everywhere. Cool beans. So let's just make sure we're doing everything right here. So that's looking good. And what I want to do now is just give the windows a little thickness. A lot of people have been asking for a thickness tool, a thickness function in Gravity Sketch, which would really come in handy in this particular instance. So like right now, this surface is just like one-sided basically. It's not really a closed surface, so I couldn't really print this. I'd actually have to completely thicken this whole interior here of this in order for it to be printable, because it has no inside technically. Even though this is the inside of the surface, it doesn't wrap around. It has no thickness. So, but for now we'll have to do it manually. So if I just do like an edge loop select and just extrude downward, I can start to give the effect of a thickness there. Same here, just kind of extrude down like that. And then you can go in and manually close these up and everything, but we're not going to do that because it's just going to take a lot of time, and you really won't see it really all that much. I'm going to quickly create another layer and just call it glass, because I want to put the glass on there. And we're just going to choose like a dark color. And then I'm going to edit that, delete that edge because you don't really need that. I'm just going to bring it all the way down, fill it in. And that's what I meant earlier by, you're not really going to see it. Because we're just going to have this glass and there's going to be things in the way, so you just won't really see much. Anyway, we're just going to extrude that back. And then once more for the rear window. Cool. And now we're just going to give that like a reflective material. And then we're just going to hide it a little bit. So you can kind of see through it. Maybe a little more. We can maybe make it a little more transparent. So you can kind of see through it there. That's our X-wing cockpit there. So it's not really looking very X-wingy right now, but that's okay. As we add the other elements, it will start to look that way. Let's also quickly make a edge loop select and extrude this down as well. That way we can really give a thickness to that. So it really looks like, you know, a hatch that can open up like that. So that's looking good. We've got little extrusion here. So I think what I'll do is make an edge loop and delete that. And then I'm going to select this face. Or rather, edge loop select, scale it in. Hold on. There we go. Scale that. And then extrude downwards. And then we can just simply connect the surfaces on the bottom there. There we are. All right, let's get that tip, that nose, that famous nose shape going on the X-wing here. So we're going to turn our sketch back on just a little bit so we can see what we're doing. And just looking here. And we're going to make sure we're on the right layer. There we go. And then we're on the surface layer. Edit mode. I'm actually going to change this to the gray color, but maybe like slightly darker. Move that point. And you'll notice the nose is a little bit thicker. It's like it comes out. It's over molded over the form there. So we're just gonna give it a little thickness, bring it out, connect it up at the bottom, and connect these towards the center, and then give it that curved down shape to it. And that crease in the side stays horizontal. So we're just going to make sure we follow that. And then this is going to come to a triangle here. Unless we kind of square it off in the end, which I think we should. I think we should square it off, just because it's not totally sharp, and we want it to be a little more realistic. So that, and then maybe extrude once more, and slope it down the bottom. and then close it off. So we're going to take that, close it up. It's continuing to taper. And then again, we have a triangle, or actually we do in this case have a triangle, so we'll close that. And there we go. And then all we got to do to give that a little thickness like we've done before, auto select loops and just scale it in a little bit. And then to kind of close it off, we're going to just extend these out a little bit, so it's intersecting with our nose piece that we've created here. And if we just turn off our sketch, you can see we've done that. So there's that famous X-wing nose, but it's not looking like an X-wing yet because we're missing one of the biggest parts, the X. So we've got to get to the wings here. Now, earlier I was wondering how best to make these. So I'm thinking there's a way to do it. I'm just kind of like thinking through it through my head. But let me just check some comments really quick because I know I've been going on here with Sub D, so I'm just going to look through what some of you have been saying. Let's see. So a couple questions on painting. Let's see, and a question about sculpting. Yeah, so these are some questions that we've gotten in the past about painting and sculpting. These are definitely things that the team is aware of, and definitely wants to, I think, eventually include in Gravity Sketch. There's just a real technical feat to doing that. It probably wouldn't even work on Quest if we got it functioning in Gravity Sketch, at least initially. Now, if there's a new version of Quest with a more powerful processor, and maybe it could work. But like sculpting programs like Oculus Medium don't really work on Quest right now, just because it's so demanding computationally. So sculpting. I can't quite remember what the team has said, but I think we would maybe like to include that. I think it's more just, how much does the community see that as a useful function in Gravity Sketch. Personally, I think it'd be great, but yeah, so just a technical challenge at the moment. And then with painting, it's actually similar to sculpting in that you need like a voxelized or like a subdivided, basically a very dense mesh in order to be able to paint on things, because or UVs. So you'd basically need UVs, and this surface, this object here would need to have UVs, and it would have to have like a 4K or HD level image UV map on it in order to paint on it. Which again, there's just technical challenges to doing that, in VR and everything. So, but these are all things that the team is aware of, and I think would like to include one day. But I think it's a combination of spending team time and effort on it, basically how much priority we want to give to things like that versus other features that are maybe more necessary, more needed. And then also the technical challenges, with the limitations of the computers that we have at this moment, as well as the Oculus Quest, computationally just isn't able to handle certain things. Even just in this PC version of Gravity Sketch I'm using the Rift S. We have the orthographic viewport. Quest users don't have the orthographic viewport just because of the technical demand it has on the headset. So just things like this, there's just some limitations right now. But always good to have these thoughts from all of you and what you want to have. The more that you ask for them shows us how much of like a need there is for certain tools and features, and then they move up, you know, on prioritization on the list. So, yeah, thank you. Um, let's see. You must come up with a million little things that you need to edit, like have a multi-select for vertices rather than just have to select them one by one big select sphere. Um, Yeah, so you're talking about selecting things, multiple selection. That's another thing the team is definitely aware of is being able to multiple select things. Um, there is like a multiple selection. So you can, like, for example, I can edit the points of this. So this is a separate piece and this is a separate piece. But I can edit these both at the same time if I want. And that's part of our new update. So you can grab both of them, hold the edit button, and it actually will bring you into edit mode for both pieces, and you can move them around at the same time, which is pretty cool. But I think what you're talking about, let's see what your name is, Jim P Animation. You, if you're in edit mode here, and say you wanted to like edit specifically this point and this point at the same time for some reason. Well, it's kind of hard to do that without also editing this point as well, because currently we have the selection sphere, and you can just select those points and move them around, but you're also moving this one. So, you know, where multiple selection comes in handy is maybe there's a way that you can select this point, and then I want to select this point, and now those are both selected, and I can move them. So, I totally agree. I think multiple selection would be really great in Gravity Sketch. I think, again, it's just spending time on the product team focusing on it. But they do have some other tasks and other functions they're trying to iron out. But that is on the list, I believe, and the team is definitely aware of multiple selection. So, yeah, thank you for just continuing that the awareness for that need. Yeah. Can you explain what you're pressing when you extrude, scale at the same time? Yeah, sure, I can show you that. Yeah, so basically, in order to extrude when you're in sub D mode here, so let's, I'll just use this side panel as an example. So say I can grab this face. So as you've noticed, you can grab points, but you can also grab faces as well. If I want to extrude this entire face, I can grab it and then press my trigger finger, and it will extrude a whole face, a whole volume out of it, actually. And I can press that in. But how I'm scaling is I'm just moving my joystick left and right. So that is how I'm scaling. And that works for the same thing with the edge loop select. So if I see if I can find an edge loop somewhere. All right, I'll just delete this face as an example. So if I could select edge loop, it'll select this whole edge loop here. And if I extrude using the index finger trigger, it will bring it out, and then I can use my joystick to scale it in and out. And then obviously extrude more. And so, you know, I basically just did those two actions and made this kind of complex shape. So that's how you do it. Hopefully that was helpful. Yeah, and please go watch our other tutorials and our other videos. We've been making lots of tutorials, lots of tools tutorials, workflow tutorials, and then obviously these live sketch sessions are meant to just teach everyone how to approach maybe different things they want to make in Gravity Sketch. This certainly isn't the only way you can make an X-wing in Gravity Sketch. This is just, you know, how I decided to do it. But there's a lot of different ways of making things in Gravity Sketch. As you learn the tools, you realize there's a lot of different workflows. So let's just keep moving here, and I'll check back in on some of your comments. Yeah, so the main body's looking pretty good. Let's just go ahead and go right into the wings because we're coming up on time here, and I don't want to spend too much longer. We're going to make these wings, and they are horizontally symmetrical as well as vertically symmetrical. So I'm thinking probably what we'll do is I think I figured it out. So we're gonna make them like this, just to give you all a preview of what we're gonna do here, because I'm just thinking through this. We're gonna make them like this, and say we've got click the cylinder here. We've got the cylinder like, on this side of it, right? So if we make them like this, it's currently mirrored. We can first combine those together so it's one piece, right? So say we're done with our wings. It's like, cool, done. We've got our X shape. So what we can do is select that, go into edit mode, and bake the mirror. So now, I want to demonstrate this the proper way because I kind of missed something there. So we're gonna, make our cylinder, place it there. We're gonna group it, and then we're gonna group edit, and we're going to bake the mirrored of both. So see, now they're not mirrored anymore. So what we can do now is we can group this entire assembly, and so now we have those symmetrical to each other. But now what we can do, and then to even more accurately manipulate this, we can just, we can take our rotation tool here, rotate it. It looks like snap rotate is not on, so this is another new feature. So if we grab this tool, we click snap, just using the button on your controller. Now we can snap rotate it, and it will rotate it every 15 degrees. So perfect 90-degree turn there, position it into position, right? And then what we can do is, since this is all one group, we can mirror that. And so now we have perfectly symmetrical wings, vertically and horizontally. So that's how we're going to do it. That'll work well. I'm going to actually just save that on another layer and just call it sketch wings. I'm just going to put them in there. We're just going to hide them. And go back to surface. And so since we're going to be making our wings vertically like that, I think probably what we'll have to do is take our sketch, and we are going to group it and rotate it. Vertically. And then we're going to move it up so we can see it. And then we can reposition it later. Actually, what I'd like to do, I'm just thinking, because I don't want to lose this profile sketch here. I think what I'd like to do is duplicate it and do those. And then move those up. That way we can position them exactly with the sketch here, and we don't lose that information. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to delete that, get rid of that. And we're going to follow our sketch. Simple. So let's see. This is a pretty good view, but I want another view. This seems to be a good view of how it should look. So just studying here. Okay. All right. So if we go back, just surface mode. Okay, we're in surface mode. Perfect. Go back to our surface tool. Got the right color. Cool. I'm going to kind of hide my sketch just a little bit. And we're going to get moving. So take this off. And I'm thinking this probably extrudes all the way through. So we're just going to do that. Extrude that downward. Very nice. And then if we can select the whole face, we can extrude the whole thing. And we kind of did a little bit of a thicken there. Let me see. So I guess we do lose thickness on that side, but that's okay, we can fill it back in. So we're just gonna grab both of those. There, like that. And then I'm just gonna fill it back in on the side. So again, this is where our thickness tool would come in handy, because we could just one click to say thicken, and then you could kind of like control how thick it is somehow. And then we have another form. Let's first get our cylinder in here, because it's kind of an interesting, it's got some interesting things going on. So let's do that. So we're gonna actually go with a primitive on this and get our cylinder. I'm gonna turn on grid, which is actually in the star now. And then turn that off. So just for all of your information, some people have been asking about how to get access to the tool belt and grid and all that. It's now moved to the beta, which is indicated by a star. So if you're in your settings menu, go all the way to the right, go to the star, and you'll see the switch for tool belt. You'll also see contextual measurements and grid. And so as soon as you turn on the switch for tool belt, you'll immediately have access to it. So it's actually a way, it was done that way to give people just an easier access to turning on the tool belt, as well as a place people can go to activate any future beta features that we implement. So it seems a little weird, but at first, but it's meant to really create a better experience using the beta features instead of having to access some button on landing pad or online or something. So that's our cylinder, and it's got a little bit of a taper in the front, it looks like. But now what we're going to do is convert to sub D, edge loop select, I'm going to scale it in just a little bit. And then scale it in once more. Extrude back. And then that's pretty much it for that. And then if we go back to the surface tool, I'm just going to, ooh, got away from me. I'm just going to close it off. And turn on collapse points. Move that back really far because we're not really going to see it anyway. And actually, we can probably just make it like a dark color. And then we have this like blocky piece that's like coming out. So we'll have that. Go to edit mode. Look at that. Seems like it's going around the center of the cylinder, so that's good. Reference point. Always look, when you're doing stuff like this, it's kind of a little bit of a tip for you. It's always good to find if things are intersecting to other things, center points, you know, just always be looking at the relationship from other objects to each other, and it'll help with, you know, creating, you know, what you're trying to make. Just close that up. Oops, forgot to close that up. And then we have another cylinder back here. We can probably pretty much just duplicate this one, and I think just kind of rotate it 180 degrees. Scale it down. Kind of position it. It looks like it's like on the inside. Let's kind of get a reference here. Okay, so it's like basically just there. Cool. And then obviously it's a little longer, so we'll move it out. I don't know how that got there. And then it's got a couple of different like changes in shape. Probably select all of these points, move it back. Grab this. We're just going to include that in there. And move that back. Let's see. Take that edge loop here. Edge loop there. Move this edge loop back just a little bit. Okay, that's kind of like the basic shape. And then of course we've got our other cylinder out here. And I think we can probably use the same shape again. I mean, why not? It's not totally accurate, but you know, it gives off the essence, you know, like we were saying before. So we just kind of position that. And it looks like it's on the underside, so we're going to move it there. There we go. Go into edit mode, move those parts out. Edge loop select. Actually, I'm going to that's good. I think this needs to come up more. There we go. And we're going to take a primitive cube. Oops, got away from me again. Extrude that just a little bit. Very good. And then, let's see. Yeah, we just got a simple cylinder we need to extrude. Pick our cylinder here. Rotate that 90 degrees. Kind of align it with our other cylinder here. Shrink that. See. I think we're just going to quickly make that like crescent shape. Just keep zooming out on me. Just gonna do that. Edit mode, delete that edge. We don't really need that. There we go. There's our little crescent shape. And then we're just gonna thicken that. And then just fill those in. Should probably easier just do that. And then same along the bottom. Cool. It's not perfect, but gets the point across. And I think we're just going to lengthen that a little bit. Okay, so we've got our wings. Now all we got to do is watch the magic happen. Let's see here. I'm just thinking. Oh yeah, we need one more detail. We got this shape. Just going to use a simple primitive for this one. And then I'm just going to get another cylinder here. There we go. So I'm going to turn off the sketch because we don't really need that anymore now. Turn that off. And watch the magic happen. So we're going to take this, we're going to group this whole thing. Move these over here. Take those wings, group it. So now this is one piece. And I'm going to take my rotate tool. I'm just going to rotate it 15 degrees. I think 15 degrees looks pretty good. And then what we're going to do is move them close together about there. Just kind of looking at the images for reference here. That seems to look good. Yeah. And then what we're going to do is just going to select that, edit everything, and then bake mirrored of everything. Take those, oops, move that out of the way, group that. Again, take our rotate tool, rotate it 90 degrees, position it, oops, into place, and then maybe it needs to be up a little more. Yeah, there we go. And then grab the whole group, edit, mirror it. Oh, I think we need to select the whole thing. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the reference images. Okay, there we go. Select the whole thing, mirror that. Bam. So we've got our X-wing blocked in. Now, obviously, there's a lot of detail we're missing, but this is just to show you all, how you can, block something in pretty simply, pretty quickly in Sub D, and then you can keep working on. You can really get in as detailed as you want, but yeah. So that's a really also a good example of mirroring things and duplicating things and mirroring on multiple planes. So mirroring along the X and the Y. This is just a way to approach that. So yeah, I just want to thank everybody for watching. So it's even full scale too, which is pretty cool. I'm going to take our human. We can turn our human back on here. And I'm going to turn on stage floor. And probably move like the whole sketch up a little bit. Move those arms down. Yeah, so there's our person. And this is kind of like scale for reference. It might be a little big, I don't know, but it's close. So I just want to thank everybody for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope you have like a better idea of how to approach making stuff in Gravity Sketch, especially when you want to like symmetrically make something, build something, mirror it. But yeah, let me just double check the comments. Let's see. For scaling. Yeah, beveling edges for sure. That would be cool. Let's see. Beveling edges would be awesome in Gravity Sketch. And I think that's something the team is aware of as well, and something they would like to do. But again, same as the other things I mentioned before, just time and resources are needed to focus on it. But yeah, let's see. Joe, you're asking, what's the green outline for? So the green outline, I'm not sure what you mean about the green outline. Are you talking about like the outline when you select stuff, or when your selection sphere is touching stuff? Not sure what you mean, but let's see. And the random zoom outs, yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I think I don't know. I can't remember how I do it, but it's something. It happens to me sometimes where like I'm doing something, or like I'm zooming, and I do something with my trigger, and then it like zooms me out really far. I don't really remember how I actually did it, but it's not really that much of an issue. I think it's just a weird, like if you hit the buttons in a weird combination or a weird way, it like zooms you out. Let's see. How do you get the axis gizmo for scaling? Axis gizmo for scaling. So if you align your controllers like this, you'll be able to scale without rotating. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but let me see. How do you get the axis gizmo for scaling? Oh, okay. I think I know what you mean. There is really no gizmo for scaling. The best way to scale is just to select something and scale it. But you can also like save this whole thing as a prefab and then like bring it in at a different scale. That's another way to do it. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you learned something. Make sure to tune in. So we're doing these live sketches on Tuesdays now as well, and just to provide more time frames for people to join. And so we try to keep them a little shorter. We've had some like 3-hour sessions in the past. We're not going to really stop that, but we would like to have some shorter sessions as well. So that was the kind of the goal of this. So yeah. Yeah, so a couple things. We're free now. We're going to keep talking about that just so everybody knows it. But we're completely free now on all the platforms for individual users. So go and download Gravity Sketch, start using it. We're also working on our iPad app, which will integrate seamlessly with the Gravity Sketch ecosystem, which includes landing pad and the VR app and everything. So anything you make in the iPad app, you can also continue working on and using in Gravity Sketch, and vice versa. But yeah, thank you to everybody again for watching. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we will see you next week.